Hi lovely beanies. Look! The new Galactic Mind Diary is out and I'm doing the first round of shipping today, so big ups to all of the pre-order crew. I know that I've not been on for a while, so yeah, I felt like I wanted to offer some insights about essentially the energy that we're being carried through for the next couple of moons to support us all to align with the energy of the new spin that's arriving, and also to honour 2025, as well as being like, yo, you can buy this if you want, and it's a bit different this year. So it's got all the normal stuff, but also within it, because essentially what's been happening for me, I've come down from the stars and really come into my body, and my work now is focused on embodiment and somatic movement and really tuning into the magic of our bodies here. And I think for a long time I was totally anchored in the galactic, and the beauty that's kind of now arrived is that I'm finally feeling like I'm finding the balance between cosmic connection and being a human being and being in this body. So for each of the wave spells, there's also like somatic practices so that we can tune into, you know, in the way that I've always done, introduce each wave spell with a poem. And alongside that now, there are also guides and prompts to support you to come into the breath within the specific archetype, to come into the body within the specific archetype, and to do a little ceremony too. So there's lots of really cool little add-ons alongside the magic that you used to. And this time we've gone super galactic honeycomb, which is my vibe. But I didn't want to just jump in and be like, hey, buy the new diary. I also wanted to offer something. So here I am, and here we go. So essentially, I am going to speak into the energies that are currently unfolding within the Galactic Mayan calendar, and that are going to support us as we run up to the end of this spin. I've written it down on a piece of paper because I was like, I need to remember what the Gregorian dates are for this. And yeah, I think I just really want to clarify that I'm still super connected to and live through the Galactic Mayan calendar, even though a lot of things have shifted for me. And I still really trust it as like a tool that is free of dogma, that supports self-reflection, and that really helps us to align with natural cycles. And, you know, particularly in the world as it's unfolding now, you know, this 13-year cycle that we began in 2019 is all about us being able to remember that we are alchemists, and that we are in this like really powerful reality that we're not separate from, and that everything that we go through and everything that we move through and that everything we transform, it has an impact, you know, it is our contribution to the collective. And, you know, we can look at contribution from a space of like, what are you actively fucking doing, what are you actively building, what are you actively contributing in terms of a like out there in the world sense. But we can also recognize, and I think this is the really important thing for us to recognize, that sometimes like the most powerful gift that we can be giving to the human collective and to the earth is for us to be healing ourselves, healing our trauma. And, you know, we've had generations of humans that have not had tools, they've not had understanding, and therefore, you know, the level of trauma that has kind of manifested is, you know, it's pretty wappy. It's like affected the human vessel in lots of different ways, which is again why now I'm really in the body. You know, I'm working with nervous system magic through somatic work. So the Galactic Mind calendar is just such a beautiful tool for helping us to do that, because it really invites us inside. You know, it really invites us to look at what is our individual code experience trauma connected to each of these 20 archetypes that make up the totality of the human experience. So at the moment we're on the third day today as I create this. We're in the energy of yellow electric seed. So yellow electric seed is the third day of the 13-year process of the white wind, and the white wind is the energy of self-expression. So from now until the 13th of November, we are in the energy of the white wind, and the white wind is about us finding the way to harmonize what we express. We can express ourselves from so many aspects, and you know, if you look at psychotherapy models like internal family systems, you know, there is this kind of recognition of, oh, we have lots of different parts of ourselves that have all got really valid needs, but that don't necessarily have the big picture. So we might have been hurt in a certain way, and we therefore feel like, oh, that thing's a really extreme need of mine and I need da 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 da, because that aspect of us can't necessarily see that, you know, the grander picture of where we're at now in our lives, and also how we relate to other people. So sometimes when we're expressing, we can be expressing from parts of us that it might not come out so beautifully, and that's okay. But equally, something that I've really learned this year is, and it's very interesting how it's kind of manifested, and I always find this, like, when I've had experiences of being in my shadow, once I finally get the learning and I'm like, oh fuck, we'll bring that to light a little bit, then I have to experience it on the other side of the equation. So it's that whole idea really of karma, and like whatever we give out we will receive back, and that then completes the healing circuit. So it's not a punishment, it's an integration. And I think this whole thing within, you know, the kind of new age circuit of like, we must be able to express ourselves and express ourselves to the nth degree, and you know, we're all responsible for one another to be able to express and to get out and to do all these things. I'm realizing now, after being somebody that was so doing that all the time, that's not necessarily necessary. Like, we can introversion vibe hear what wants to be expressed, we can introversion wise hold what wants to be expressed, we can witness, we can let it out. But to let it out to another, to put it onto another, to make another wrong, or to do whatever the story is, that expression is then distorted, right? But what we can do following integration, when we're no longer in heart pumpy, extreme or scared or whatever the thing is, once we regulate, then if there needs to be a communication around a boundary or something like that, then it comes from a different place. So the white wind energy as an archetype is about purification of the throat. It's a real throat energy. It's like a lot of white wind people end up being musicians or channelers, or because another aspect of, you know, if we've got all these parts of us that are, you know, able to connect in different ways and see different things and experience different things, you know, we can channel through the throat, right? So it's like, are we operating from the pain body? Are we operating from, you know, the more spiritual aspects that can sometimes be very dissociated? And the aim of the game really within the white wind energy is like, okay, I have needs and I have desires and I have opinions and I have insights. But first, like, as they drop into my being, I have a duty to go through an alchemical process within that, so that then what I'm expressing on the external is clear, as opposed to just like, it's in and it's out, it's in and it's out, it's in and it's out. Because what we're doing then in that energetic is like, we're not holding our energy, we're not processing our energy. So the white wind that we are journeying with until the 13th of November, we're going on this path about our voice, about our expression of self. And I guess the flip side of that as well is that everybody is so holding one another in a way of like, okay, we're all in this learning journey together, and sometimes we're not going to get it right individually, and also sometimes the other isn't going to get it right. So being able to kind of hold one another from a space of, all right, we're kind of in a time of communication challenge, and we've got, I can't remember when it actually kicks off, but we've got Mercury retrograde coming up, which will really enhance that. So I guess within that, the invitation for us all is to soften with each other. It's like, okay, if somebody says something and it really fucking triggers me, and I'm like, why the fuck did he say that? Yeah, I need to fucking process what's been hit, and I don't need to bounce back at them. I can just process what's been hitting me, but also just holding that awareness of like, we're going through a communication learning right now, so therefore they probably are also struggling too. So holding that energy. Then on the 14th of November, we move into the Blue Eagle. The Blue Eagle energy, because essentially what we're doing now within this 9-month experience, 260-day experience of time, we journey through these 13-day wave spells, these 13-day weeks that have got a specific flavour. And you know, I think the thing is within all of this, like, it doesn't, and where I'm landing within my belief systems, I was talking to my partner about this, it's like whether something is real or not, for me now, because I'm never going to know whilst I'm in this body what ultimate truth is, what ultimate reality is. And I think, you know, having lots of psychedelic experience and like having lots of trauma and having, it's like the psychedelic experience opened one thing, the trauma opened another thing, and I guess through the trauma work that I've been doing, I'm recognizing like how true something can feel in my system, but it's not necessarily true with what's happening in the present. So that's kind of opened up the experience for me of like, what's truth? What belief systems do I need to fucking clutch onto? And I think what it's brought, because obviously I've kind of had this experience with like Gnostic Christianity too, and I think what everything's kind of distilled into now is this really soft holding of like, does it fucking feel like it's supporting me to be a better person? And I think this is kind of the Jesus code, and why I like vibe with whether he was a human, whether he's an archetype, whatever, doesn't matter to me, on a level of like, I'm not gonna fucking know for sure, so I don't need to be all fucking dogmatic about shit. But as a human, like, even as a character of a human, he fucking bossed it. And for me, it's now like, all right, I hold everything softer. So it doesn't matter whether there is a realm of archetypes and we are cycling through time guided by these specific archetypes, or whether it's simply a map that's been imprinted by a human mind on top of our reality, because the way that I'm using the tool is really fucking supporting me to grow and evolve. So we're in this moment where, you know, we're kind of coming to the end of this cycle of time, whether it's been created by a human or whether it's something that they've gridded into and felt as an actual dimensional plane, doesn't really matter, because as we journey through the 20 archetypes, it's a full spectrum human experience. So White Wind we're in at the minute, then on the 14th of November we move into the Blue Eagle. So the Blue Eagle archetype is basically about planetary service and the bigger picture. So key aspects of the Blue Eagle, so we're going to be journeying with that from mid-November essentially till the beginning of December, toward the end of November. So within that time we're really getting a snapshot of like, okay, what do I want to fucking bring? What do I want to bring? And as I said earlier on, you know, it's not just like, what am I here to bring in a practical sense? It's also, I've got a bit of a neck crash, White Wind vibes. Look at this bloody thing. It's also about, you know, what am I contributing on a, like, to my family, to the ancestral line, on an internal level. Like, one of the big things for me at the minute is like slowing the fuck down, which was a fucking ancestral issue. Like, my mum never stopped, but it's also very much a collective issue. And, you know, regardless of whether I'm like beating a fucking drum being like, yo, we all need to slow down, or creating massive containers. Side note, I totally forgot to mention, the portal I'm doing a 13-day new spin online somatic dance ceremonial thing, which will begin on the 10th of December. I'll tell you more about that afterwards. But whether I'm doing those things or whether simply I am slowing the fuck down myself, that's my contribution, because that's what I'm beaming out, because I'm saying on a like declaration energetically, I'm not on that fucking wheel, and I won't be whipped into moving crazy fast and losing myself and all that shit. I'm choosing slowness. So within that window of the Blue Eagle time, blue is like transformation, right? So we're going through this transformation of our understanding of our purpose. And again, purpose doesn't have to be like, I'm here to beat a drum and lead the world. Purpose can be super quiet. It could be the way that we, the lifestyle that we adopt, you know. And I think that's the, again, like, I don't want to keep harping on about fucking Jesus, because I know that that'll turn so many people off and people get it super twisted and like, oh, you're born again and oh, you this, oh, you that. No, I'm fucking not any of that shit. Just like, as a human, he fucking did dead good stuff. But I think it's about what are the qualities that make, you know, if we were to like design, this is what like a decent human looks like and behaves like, and then use that as a framework, we're cooking on gas, do you know what I mean? We're laughing. And it's not about necessarily going and like doing loads of shit out in the world. Sometimes that's part of it, but it's more about how we experience the world, right? So the other thing about the Blue Eagle energy is the bigger picture thing, right? So it's also going to be a moment for us to, which again is like aligning beautifully with the Mercury retrograde stuff, it's a moment for us to be able to recognize like, where am I in relation to where I would like to be? How am I behaving each day? And does that align with where I'm wanting to land? When I zoom out, where am I at in my existence, you know, in this lifetime? Can I have a little look at like, okay, yeah, defo grown there, defo still struggling there, and then how can I build a new reality, essentially, to be able to support me, us, to get to where I want to be. So the Blue Eagle, activation of service, reflection on where we're at, and also bigger picture thinking of like, okay, if that's where I want to be, what needs to happen now? Short, medium, long-term goals, super simple. Then on the 27th of November, we move into the final 13-day process of our spin, which is the energy of the yellow star. So the yellow star, oh sorry, I'm sat in a yoga block and my bum started to go a bit dead. The yellow star energy is about being the star that we are, right? So because it's the final 13-day process, it comes with an energy of integration naturally, you know. When did this spin start? The old and the new, oops, and the new. So this spin started on the 25th of March. So the 25th of March, we started this cycle, right? And what was happening? What was happening for you on the 25th of March? Like, where were you at within yourself? Like, what was, you know, if you have journeyed with the diary, have a look, you know, like, okay, what was going on at the beginning of this spin? Where was I at? Reflect is a big part of, you know, the star energy, because it's the final of the 13-day processes. It's like a, okay, where have I been? And how much closer am I to my authentic individual self? And this has been, again, like a really wild experience of mine, because I've gone back to my birth name. I never intended to change my name in the first place, but I spent 10 years as Jyoti. And then the way that that came was like super divinely orchestrated, in terms of like, I wasn't thinking I want to fucking change my name. I had a spiritual experience, and then that brought this name with it, and that was what happened. And it was fucking delightful that that happened, and it was so special to have the opportunity to step out of certain aspects of myself, to then look back in at those certain aspects of myself and at myself and start to take care of them. You know, I'm speaking of like wounded child stuff. But then also it allowed me to, you know, go through this beautiful reconnection to and awakening to lots of different aspects of spiritual experience and spirituality, and it took me on a journey, right? But interesting, what's happened now is like this really cool return, and I think that we're all a little bit in this energy of return now, returning to our authentic selves. And I think the authenticity vibration is stronger than any other vibration, you know, when we're really being ourselves. And this is what the yellow star's about. It's like we've been conditioned to compete, you know, it's really strong within this world, particularly in the West. It's like, you know, the whole pressure to like, yeah, to compete with each other and then to almost morph into each other. You know, this is one of the reasons that I'm so against the fucking schooling system. It's like, it just creates this thing of like, you have to be a fucking model. I need to be like that, as opposed to like, who is this and how does this want to experience and express and live. So within that final wave spell, which begins on the 27th of November, we're going through this 13-day process of like recalibrating what has happened and checking in with like, okay, so we've gone through the wind, which is this opportunity for us to be like, okay, how am I communicating myself, my needs with the world? And then we move into the eagle, which is like, where am I at in the bigger picture? What is my service? What is my offering? And then we move into the star, which is like, okay, and then who am I now? Who am I now, and how can I give myself permission to be more and more of who I am? And it might be that there are things from the past that you reintegrate with that you thought had been released forever. It might be that new things begin to emerge that you're like, oh, I've never felt comfortable sharing this before. But, you know, like shy shit can really come up within the yellow star. But that beautiful shy edge of like, oh, if that's there, then there's something really juicy behind it. And then that carries us until the 9th of December, which is the final day of the spin before we reboot on the 10th of December. So on the 10th of December, we move into this new 13-day cycle of the dragon, but it's also the new spin. And as I say, during that time, I've got a 13-day container that I am offering. So I'll post a link below for you to buy a diary if you want to buy a diary, and also within that you will see the portal, which is going to be really beautiful, you know, like super galactic as always, but a lot more somatic this time. So like bringing it into the body, moving through the body, lots of dance, lots of sharing, lots of connecting, lots of breath, and lots of slowing into this like window of like integration and rebirth. And the beautiful thing is, you know, we're the Gregorian calendar, you know, it's aligning quite closely. And I know that no matter how much we might be like, yeah, I don't buy into it, or it's not my cycle, there is an energy of it, you know. And I think it's really cool and rad that we've got this window of like, you know, that 13 days that we're going to gather. It's also going to be like a really beautiful opportunity for us to be rebirthing whilst also integrating everything that we've been through in 2025, because it's been a really big year. You know, this spin has been really big, right? So yeah, get yourself a diary. Don't know where I'm going to pop on again, so if you're not following me on socials, follow me on socials. I'll pop my Instagram below. And get a diary, get on the portal, because it's going to be a very beautiful journey to kind of rebirth into the new. And yeah, journey this next few weeks gently. Mwah.